Main point today is established. We're oh, there he is, Chuck. You're not in your spot. See, from now on, he won't be in his spot. He'll be up here. He'll be here. So, yeah, he won't be in his assigned seat. Well, he'll still be in his assigned seat, but he's going to move the seat. So this is kind of a second part of a two-part, and so if you weren't here last week, you probably maybe want to go back and kind of listen to that. And this is something that I thought if I ever leave, these would be the two messages that I would preach on. It was David leaving and David wanting to build the temple. And there was a lot of stuff about this I would have to say I didn't understand for quite a long time, because there's some things that kind of puzzled me about this. And one of the things that you see is if you'll keep reading the Bible, you'll see years and years later, you're going to say, oh, that's what that meant. And I still find myself doing that. And so, and this is one of those things. So David wanted to build the temple. He tells Nathan, this is a little bit of last week, he wanted to build the temple. Nathan said, you know what, you're on track, basically. You're doing the right thing. You're following the Lord. If that's what you want to do it. And then he leaves, and God said, well, that was nice, but that's not going to happen. Basically, his son is going to build the temple, and he is not. He's a man of bloodshed. He's a man of war. And there's a couple things I find interesting about the story. David always went to battle. He was always in the battle line until he almost got killed in a battle. And his leaders, his army, like we'd call them generals and stuff like that, they told him, you know what? When we go to battle, they don't care who they kill, but they just want to kill you. They don't care if everybody else lives, because they knew that if they got to David, it would change everything. And so they said, we don't want you going to battle anymore. Now, if you remember the time before that, and this is interesting, the time before that when David didn't go into battle, what did he do? Sinned with Bathsheba. That didn't work out too good. But this was a little bit different situation. He was getting older, and he just couldn't go to battle anymore. And never, and I mentioned this last week, never do you see Solomon going out to battle. That's interesting, isn't it? And so, also we mentioned last week that Solomon was not the firstborn. Adonijah was the firstborn that was still living. And then also Solomon was the son of Bathsheba, which is, again, interesting, the one that he had an affair with. By the way, David's choice in women was not good. He had his first wife was Saul's daughter. Remember that one? Boy. And this is what Saul said, I'm going to give her to David so that she'll bring him down. Read it. Does it say that? And so he gave David her. That's wife number one. And it just gets worse from there. Some of them we just don't know that much about. But the wives that we do know something about, it ain't good. Bathsheba, that really wasn't, I don't know that was her fault or not. But anyway, I would say choosing somebody's wife and killing her husband, I'd say that wasn't a really good choice. That probably was less than wise. And so he just didn't have a real good choice in women. So kind of keep that in mind. He was a man after God's own heart. But actually Saul's daughter, who David married, she actually said something derogatory about David worship. Chapter of 1 Chronicles 28, but it's verses out of there that have to do with what we're talking about. It says, David assembled all the leaders of Israel in Jerusalem, the leaders of the tribes, the leaders of the division of the king's service. The king, David, rose to his feet and said, listen to me, my brothers and my people. It was in my heart to build a house as a resting place for the ark of the Lord's covenant and as a footstool for our God. I have made preparations to build, but God said to me, now this is important. I have made preparations to build. And if you read through there, and especially in 1 Chronicles, it goes into great detail, and this is important. how much David set aside and how much effort he put into this stuff for the temple, although he knew he was not going to build it. You know what that kind of tells me? He wasn't a glory hound. You know what I mean? He did something that he wasn't going to get credit for. I mean, who do we say that built the temple? It's Solomon. What's it called? Solomon's Temple. You like that one, Chuck? It was Solomon's church. It's a joke. It's a kind of joke we have. So anyway, so I made preparations to build. But God said to me, you are not to build a house for my name because you are a man of war and have shed blood out of all my sons, for the Lord has given me many sons. He has chosen my son Solomon to sit on the throne of the Lord's kingdom over Israel. See, he makes that very specific, doesn't he? God has chosen you. He's very specific on that. He said to me, your son Solomon is the one who is to build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I will be his father. I will establish his kingdom forever if he perseveres in keeping my commands and my ordinance as he is doing today. As for you, Solomon, my son, now I skipped the next few verses because it's instructions specifically to Solomon. Not that I don't feel it's important, it is. That we follow the Lord with all of our heart. And that's basically what he's telling Solomon there. So we're going to skip down a few verses, and it says, then David gave his son Solomon the plans for the portico of the temple and its building, treasuries, upstairs rooms, inner rooms, and a room for the mercy seat. Now, whenever God gets real specific about things, I think we really need to take note why he did that. There's a lot said today. Remember, the Bible always trumps culture. You know what I mean by that? The Bible is more important than our culture. What do we say in our culture? The dad doesn't tell the son what to do. David told Solomon exactly what to do. He gave him the plans for the temple and everything about the temple. What went into the temple, everything. Now see, in our culture, would we do that? No. We wouldn't. So what's wrong, the scripture or our culture? Probably our culture, right? We have a very disrespectful culture. Just kind of keep that in mind. And it's not good. It's not good. So he gave them the whole plan of what to do. The plans contained everything he had in mind for the courts of the Lord's house, all the surrounding chambers, the treasuries of God's house, and the treasuries for what is dedicated. So I want to say this. When the Bible says to honor your father and your mother, that it may be well with you and that you may live a long life, or longer than you would have lived, I think is the idea there. There's an idea in our culture that you earn respect. I don't see that in that verse, and I don't see that in the Bible, kind of period. You honor your father and your mother because they are your father and your mother, not because they're perfect. I thought I was going to be a pretty good parent till I had kids. Yeah, that was an eye-opener. And then I realized parents make mistakes, and so knowing it, and also when the Bible talks about people in authority and under authority, watch this, it always deals with people under authority first before it deals with the people in authority. Slaves, be subject to your masters. Then he deals with masters. Children, be under your parents. Then he talks to the parents. Because it's always the one under authority that is dealt with. And why is that? Because people in authority make mistakes. Right? So, are you going to honor them because they didn't make any mistakes? Good luck with that. Because, yeah, I was the expert parent until I became a parent. And a lot of people that don't have kids, they're still the expert parent. And you know why? Because they don't have kids. Once you have kids, you'll realize, hey, I wasn't that good before that. So anyway, remember the model prayer, your kingdom come, your will be done. That's very important. And I left that in here from last week mainly because God's will for Solomon had a lot to do with what David told him to do. Right? We never see where Solomon said, you know what? I really don't want to build the temple like that. Never see that. And so, kind of keep that in mind. I think a lot of times we look for God's will, and God's will first off is what the Bible says. And we have to follow those guidelines to actually understand what his will is. And so Solomon was honorable and respectful. Remember, we talked about this last week. Adonijah was the firstborn. And that kind of comes into play because if you look at 1 Kings, we're going to look at that. In chapter 1, it talks about David choosing Solomon in the first part of the chapter. In the second part of the chapter, it says this: Adonijah was going to take over as king. In fact, he had announced himself at the king. They're having this big old banquet and everything. And it's told David, who is not able to get out of bed anymore, it's told David, hey, I thought Solomon was going to be the king, and now Adonijah, he's having a party because he's announcing himself as the king. And so David, again, who was still alive at the time, he made it clear that Adonijah, who was the firstborn, who is taking that place, right? Sometimes I think we have rights we don't have. We think we have the right to do this and the right to do that just because, we are who we are, and we don't have the right to do that. And that was the case there. So that's the first chapter of 1 Kings. And so it says that Solomon took over. It says he took over where David left off. David was a man of war. He gave the plans and the riches to Solomon. Solomon was not the oldest, but he was the chosen. It's important, isn't it? I mentioned this last week. That's not the only time in the Bible this happened either, is it? It happened at other times. Because sometimes God has a choosing that, God gives guidelines that I don't think we are supposed to change. Moabites weren't allowed into the temple till the 10th generation. I think it's the 10th generation. Ruth was a Moabite, right? And who was is it great-grandson? Or grandson? Great-grandson? Whatever. It wasn't 10 generations. David was the great-grandson of Ruth. He was allowed in the temple. You see, God made a rule that we have to follow. But he can alter that. Is that okay? He does it more than one time, too. And like Solomon being the one that would inherit the kingship. That wasn't the standard practice, right? But it was the right thing to do. And so God made it very clear that he was going to establish a kingdom that went on for generations through Solomon. And so, anyway, Solomon wasn't the oldest, but he was the one that was chosen. And he built the temple. Now this is important. When I put in quotes, he built the temple, he not only built the physical temple, but if you remember, God actually appeared to Solomon twice. 2 times he appeared to him. Now, when God does that, I think it's like a stamp of approval. Sometimes I don't use the right words. Lauren, she did that again this morning. A very renowned psychologist from the 1800s. How many ever heard of the guy? That many heard of him? Jeez. I thought like nobody would say they ever heard of him. She comes up, she makes up these words. I've actually looked it up in the dictionary, and they're really words. And I swear she made them up. Well, who was that guy, Carl Jung? Huh? Jung? You didn't even say it right. It's Jung, it's not Young. So there. But I never heard of the guy. It's like a famous guy. I wasn't alive back then. Almost, but not quite. But anyway, he built the temple. He built, and this is at first. When Solomon took over, he built a kingdom that was founded on wisdom. I mean, it says that people came from all over to hear the wisdom of Solomon. My favorite one is the Queen of Sheba. She comes and she says this, I love this. The half has not been told. We didn't even hear half of it. It's like, I heard all kinds of stuff. I didn't even believe that. And now it's twice as much as that. Like, wow, that must have really been good. But it got to his head, which I saw that. He steals my coffee every week. Gene, that guy back there. He seems like a nice kid. I saw that, Gene. He stole my coffee, and he hides it on me. This is a true story. I'm not making this up. Gene, put it back. Put it back. See? There it is. He put it back. That's worse than sitting in my seat. So anyway, so he built the temple. He actually established it again at the beginning. He established a tone in the country, right? And we talked about this before. The pastors, I don't think pastors in churches are necessarily meant to be the glamour. You know, a guest speaker will come in and that's all the glamour. Pastors are to bring, we talked about this more on Wednesday night, they're there to bring what's the word, Chuck? Huh? Evenness. They're there to bring an evenness. Because people just get weird. They do. They just get weird. Like somebody will say, what do you think about this? It's like, oh my gosh. Like something happens and I get this all the time. It's like, is this Jesus coming back? Probably not. Probably not. Pastors just bring an evenness. So you may have this great idea like way out here and you'll bring it by Chuck and you're going to see that look on his face. You've seen it before. I've given it to you. He's going to do the same thing. He will bring an evenness, probably more than me. That, you know, Chuck doesn't drive, but if he did drive, he wouldn't drive like me. He's just going to bring more of an evenness than I have. Right? Right, Chuck? Sometimes we'll have a staff meeting and he just shakes his head. I mean, seriously. He just shakes his head. Anyway. So sometimes I shake my head. So he built the temple. It was his calling. It's not just the building. It's God's place in the kingdom. That's important. He established a tone of spirituality in the country. I mean, before he got like 1,000 wives and concubines. What an idiot. Anyway, so each has a calling. You have to know your calling, and we talked about this last week. Different ones do different things. David was a man of bloodshed. If you didn't get this today, go back. We talked about last week. David established the kingdom. It was David's calling, and so David's calling was war, to tear down and to build. It was bloodshed, and it was to establish a kingdom, which he did. But, and this is the thing, because it says this about David, and it says it about Solomon, establishing the kingdom. One person does not establish a kingdom. It has to go on. And it has to go on. And so, I didn't establish this church by myself. Chuck was here too. And so now, Chuck is going to take over. Why is that? Because you have to keep, all of you have to keep a legacy going. Right? So that when it comes time for Chuck to move on, the church keeps going. A lot of us are going to be gone. Right? We'll be dead. I mean, some of you guys are old already. I am. Yeah, I'm speaking for myself. So anyway, it's going to, so that it perpetuates. You know what I mean? Now, see, this is the problem. And Chuck's messages the last few weeks, what were his messages? Finish well, right? Obviously, some of you didn't hear those messages, but that's what it was. See, Solomon started off good, but he didn't finish well, did he? Didn't finish well. So what happened after he was there? This is so typical of churches. Sometimes pastors start off good, but they don't finish well. What happened after Solomon died? The kingdom split. Bad. It split and it never joined back together again. Never joined back together. And so you guys are going to have to start off good and you're going to have to finish well. I want to say again, some of you guys need to get with Chuck. and have a meeting with them. Don't get quiet like that. That's not nice. I'm gone. You know what? I can say whatever I want. I'm gone. And so some of you guys need to get with them and say, hey, look, we need to do something different than what's gone on in the past. Right? Come on now.
Why do we need to change?
Yeah. So she's been here on Wednesday night, so we talk about that. So now to this week. Solomon established his kingdom. This is very interesting here. David gave Solomon people to deal with. Now we're going to specifically look at this. David gave Solomon people to deal with. You guys know this? Most of them died. David said to Solomon, these are people you need to deal with. And the very first one, just kill him. It was Joab. It was David's cousin. Look, I think it's his first cousin. He killed two guys, Amasa, and I didn't look up the other one. You know it offhand? The other, he was going to be a Abner. Thank you. Who said that? Thank you for that. We were going to name one of our kids Abner. No, just kidding. But anyway, Joab, they were going to be the new general, the guy in charge, and so Joab knew that, so he killed them, both of them. And so David tells Solomon, and I often wondered, why didn't David kill him? Why didn't he do it? He had the guts to do it. It wasn't that he was lacking guts. Why didn't David kill these guys? We're going to look at that. So David gave Solomon people to deal with. And it says this, and this is 2 Kings chapter 2, 5 through 9. This is David talking to Solomon. Now you yourself know what Joab, his cousin, son of Zeruiah, did to me. What he did to the two commanders of Israel's armies, Abner, son of Ner, and Amasa, son of Jether? You like that one, Chuck? Jether? Chuck loves names. So he killed them, shedding their blood in peacetime as if in battle. And with that blood, he stained the belt around his waist and the sandals on his feet. Now that was terminology they used, right? We wouldn't use that terminology, but you stained yourself because you killed those guys in a time of peace, not in the time of war. And so, deal with them according to your wisdom, but do not let his gray head go down to the grave in peace, but show kindness. Now, there's four guys that we're going to deal with here. This is the one guy that when he ran from, we'll see it in a minute. When he ran from Absalom, Barzillai brought him food. You remember that? So he says here, but show kindness to the sons of Barzillai of Gilead, and let them be among those who eat at your table. They stood by me when I fled from your brother Absalom, and remember you have with you Shimei. Now this is when he was fleeing from Absalom also. Remember Shimei? He's the guy that was throwing rocks at David. So David's leaving Jerusalem, and his son's chasing him away, and Shimei, he's throwing rocks at David. And his commanders say, just kill him. And he did not kill Shimei, right? He let the guy live. And so he's telling Solomon what to do here. He says, and remember you have with you Shimei, son of Gera, the Benjaminite from Bahurim, who called down bitter curses on me the day I went to wherever that place is. He went there. When he came down to meet me by the Jordan, I swore to him by the Lord, I will not put you to death by the sword. This cracks me up. I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to tell my son to kill you. Actually, Solomon didn't do that. But now, do not consider him innocent. You are a man of wisdom. You will know what to do to him. Bring his gray head down to the grave in blood. So, the first one is Adonijah. We see this in 1 Kings, and immediately after these instructions in this chapter, this is what happens. Adonijah tries to usurp the throne. It's in 1 Kings chapter 1, and he doesn't. Then later on, and it says chapter 2, you remember David when he was sick, they gave him a virgin to read between the lines. I mean, really. It probably invigorated him, really. There was no sexual activity, but anyway. So Adonijah asks Solomon if he can have that woman. Now, what's the significance of that? Solomon tells us what it is. The significance is he is trying still, now that David's gone, he's trying to get the kingship. So, if he can get the virgin that took care of David and marry her, then it gives him a right. That's kind of how it worked back then. You remember when Absalom chased David out of Jerusalem? Absalom slept with his concubines, I think 10 of them with his concubines. It was a statement of authority. Okay, if that was your concubine and I'm going to say that now I'm the king, I'm going to sleep with your concubines. So that was kind of a thing that they did then. So it doesn't sound like, well, what's a big deal? David's dead anyway, and she was still a virgin. The point is this. He was trying to usurp the throne. And so it says here that if you read it, Solomon, at that point, he had Adonijah killed. Right? That's person number one. So we're going to get to this in a minute because I find this very interesting, right? Remember, Adonijah was the firstborn in, yeah, it's like, that was still alive because Absalom was the firstborn. So we see here that Adonijah gets killed. The second one is Joab, the cousin. He gets killed like immediately. Solomon just killed him. You know the story? Did you ever wonder about that? I did for a long time. Why did he do that? Barzillai, he rewards him. And Shimei, well, let's read through here. Why didn't David do it? David was a man of war. He could have done it. He was a man of bloodshed. He was allowing Solomon to establish his kingdom. That's why David didn't do it. Took me years to figure that out. Why didn't David do it? I think David would have not liked doing it, but you know what I mean? Yeah, he probably would have. I'll just go ahead and say it. Yeah, probably would have liked it. It's like, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to enjoy it. But I see David giving some things to Solomon to do because I think that David didn't build the temple because he was a man of bloodshed. But do you know God can do more than one thing at the same time? He can walk and chew bubble gum. We can't. And so by allowing Solomon to build the temple, what did that do? That established Solomon as a leader. By giving Solomon people to deal with, what did that do? That established Solomon as the leader. It established him. It's like, wow, Solomon killed Joab, who was the commander, like, all through David's reign. Right? Way back, before he was king. They go way back. They were cousins. And so he is doing something that is establishing him as the new king. This is the new king. Are you guys following me here?
Yes, I am.
Chuck's the new pastor. You guys getting it?
Yeah.
There's going to be some decisions he's going to make, and you're going to think, don't ever say to Chuck, well, Randy wouldn't do that. Because first off, I'll bet I would. Because Chuck and I are on the same page, first off. But if he does do something that I wouldn't do, he's the pastor. Right? He's the pastor. When we left the church in California, people that, I told you, you know, we were a good fit. You know how pastors fit in the church? We were a good fit. They didn't like me and I didn't like them. It was great. But when I left, it's like, oh, we're going to miss you. It's like, well, you didn't miss me when I was here. Anyway, most of that's a joke, but seriously. And I was gone, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, and I got a call from somebody in the church saying, you need to call the pastor and tell him this and this and this. No. I've seen pastors do this. This was done here. Pastors kept in contact. You can get quiet if you want. This is my last week here. I'm saying it. There was a pastor in contact with people here, and that was wrong. That is not going to happen this time around. You guys with me?
Yep, we got it.
You get under Chuck's authority. And I will never, ever entertain bad conversation about Chuck. Not just because I like him, because it's wrong to do. When a pastor leaves, he leaves and supports the successor. He supports that guy. And I support Chuck not in word only. I really am behind him. I mean, in reality, I'm behind the guy. Right? I think Chuck has wisdom beyond his years. He's only 42. And sometimes I walk away thinking, I should have known that. Get behind him. And you guys, if you want to contact me, you can email me. My WhatsApp phone number is, I'm going to keep this phone number. You can contact me through WhatsApp or through Facebook Messenger, which I personally hate. And so WhatsApp will work. But if you have anything derogatory to say about Chuck, don't contact me. Get over it. Right? Get over it. And when I mean get over it, I mean really seek the Lord, pray, and get over it. Chuck will be the next pastor. And I will step down. I will be out of the picture. And so he was allowing Solomon to establish his kingdom. So how does this come into play here? What's the situation? It says, then the king gave the order to Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and he went out and he struck Shimei down and he died. This is what David told Shimei to do, which I thought was kind of nice, considering he threw rocks at David. That wasn't nice. Throwing rocks at David. That wasn't nice. So he tells Shimei, he said, I will allow you to live in Jerusalem. But if you step foot out of Jerusalem, because they had gates, there was a fence there. If you step foot out of there, I'm going to kill you. And so 2 of Shimei's slaves escaped. So Shimei, now that's a good reason to leave Jerusalem, isn't it? Shake your head, yes, that's a good reason. But when he came back, Solomon said, hey, I heard you left. And that's what happened. He killed him. This was 3 years later after Solomon was king. What's he doing? He's establishing his kingdom. He's establishing that. Chuck's going to do the same thing here. He's going to establish the fact that he's the pastor. Now, Chuck's not a tyrant and a ruler. He's not like that. You guys know him. If he runs you over with that wheelchair, he's going to break your foot. It's very heavy. Ask Ray. So anyway, so he established the kingdom. The kingdom is now established in Solomon's hands. Get behind Chuck. Right? Just get behind him. Get behind him. Not that he's going to kill you. Will you, Chuck? No, okay. He'll So, and don't analyze what he does support. Now, we're gonna get more into this because this comes into play. Anyway, there's some wolves that have left here. They are wolves. Not everybody that causes problems in a church is a wolf, but there's some. They're wolves, and we've dealt with 3 specifically here. And Chuck knows who they are, and we've talked about, Chuck, what are you going to do when they come back? Because they will. They'll weasel their way in, right? They'll weasel their way in. They're wolves, right? What do you do with the wolf? Oh, no, you let them in with the sheep. You forgive and forget and let them come back in and kill more sheep. No, you don't. You don't do that. Let me tell you something about wolves. I've been here 15 years. If they were going to make things right, they would have done it by now. Right? They would have done it by now. They have not made things right, and I'll tell you this for a fact. They haven't made things right with me. And Chuck knows. So is he going to let those wolves in? No, he's not. You know why? Because he's got some wisdom. If they took sheep the first time, they'll take sheep the second time. You know why? They didn't make things right and they didn't change. Let me tell you this, people do change. Very, very rarely does a wolf change. They'll keep their sheep clothes on, but they won't change. I have never seen somebody that's actually a wolf in sheep's clothing change. Never seen. I'm sure it could happen. It's rare. It's rare. So anyway, some wolves and those that cause problems will return. Not, you know what I'm saying here? Guys, get your wisdom hats on. If they didn't make things right with me, they probably won't make things right with Chuck. What they're going to do is they're going to cause problems again. And everybody said, amen. That's right. Because that's what wolves do, and that's what people that cause problems do. Right? So when you see Chuck dealing with that, like Solomon dealt with it, don't be surprised. Because Chuck's got wisdom. He knows. I mean, he's not doing this because I told him to do it. He's doing it because he knows better. Right? So when Chuck deals with people, don't start questioning Chuck, and don't do it behind his back. Amen? Don't do that. Don't start discussing Chuck's stuff and behind it with other people. Yeah. Amen. I'll tell you what, when I got here, there was a gossip problem. Let me tell you, there was a gossip problem. We still deal with that a little bit. You'll always deal with that a little bit, but not like we were dealing with it. Don't start doing that. Don't start doing that. Because you know what God will do? God will start plucking you out and moving you somewhere else. Just be good with and support them. If you don't, if you don't agree with everything Chuck does, that's fine. I don't even agree with everything I do. Seriously. Sometimes I've said to myself, I wouldn't do that again. You know what stupid people do? They don't ever say that. I would never change anything I ever did. You wouldn't? Then you didn't learn anything in your whole life. You would still do the same dumb things you did when you were 20 and you're 50 or 60? It's like, wow, you have not been paying attention. Is there anybody here, you're 50 or 60 years old, you would say, yeah, there's some things I'd change. If there isn't, God help you. You're probably still doing the same dumb things you were doing back then. Right? And so yeah, anyway. So, shouldn't we forgive and forget? Now, there will be people that will say that. And look at what the word says. Did Solomon go to Shimei and say, you know what, I forgive you and I'm just going to forget everything? No. He said, if you leave Jerusalem, you're dead. And he left Jerusalem, he's dead. Joab, he didn't even go that far. He just said, you're dead. Period. Life is over. Say goodbye to your loved ones. He is gone. Right? Adonijah, he let him live the first time, which, probably a good thing at the time. Second time, he is gone. He is dead. Barzillai, he honored. And I'll tell you this, you get behind Chuck, and not only will Chuck honor you, but God will honor you. Right? When you honor and respect people in authority, you get a blessing you just don't get any other way. There's the only way you will get certain blessings, and that's one of them. So, that's it.